movies, beyond critical acclaim, rely heavily on box office success in the business-oriented film industry. While artistic statements might flourish without financial pressure, the reality is money is paramount. Looking back at cinema's history, exploring the top-grossing films from each decade offers insights. Starting in the 1910s, box office data was less comprehensive, but we'll attempt to highlight the highest earners from each era, acknowledging the evolving nature of box office statistics. With that being said, the 12th highest grossing movie is The Birth of a Nation, 1915. The early days of cinema boast notorious films that don't stand the test of time, with The Birth of a Nation serving as a stark example. Despite debatable technical merits for its era, undeniable box office popularity and narrative content that's challenging to defend, discussing this film remains difficult. Its appeal likely stemmed from an audience accustomed to shorter films. The Birth of a Nation's estimated earnings, potentially reaching $50 to $100 million, underscore its significant impact, even without adjusting for inflation. And the 11th highest grossing movie is The Big Parade, 1925. While the 1910s saw some success in feature films, the 1920s marked a significant turning point for the film industry. This decade witnessed the emergence of movies with enduring entertainment value. As the medium expanded and directors embraced greater ambitions, audiences grew, paving the way for larger-scale successes. Despite the decline of silent films by the decade's end, the biggest box office hit was a silent movie, The Big Parade. This early war film, depicting a young US soldier's journey in World War I, stood out for its grand scale and quality, earning substantial box office success. And the 10th highest grossing movie is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, 1937. In the context of the 1930s, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs stood out as a remarkable technical achievement. While not the first feature-length animated film, it marked an early milestone and showcased advanced animation compared to its contemporaries. Released by Walt Disney Productions, its lifetime gross is estimated as high as $418 million. However, 1939's Gone with the Wind, also reaching around $400 million, adds complexity to determining a clear winner for the decade, especially with extensive re-releases contributing to their earnings. And the 9th highest grossing movie is Bambi, 1942. Prepare for Walt Disney Productions' cinematic dominance in the coming decades, as they ignited the box office from the late 1930s to the 1960s, particularly excelling in animated films with broad appeal. Among their successes, 1942's Bambi stands out as both a standout film of its year and a notorious tearjerker. While its global earnings of around $267 million fell short of the monumental Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in 1937, Bambi's profitability remains impressive, especially given its budget was less than $1 million. And the 8th highest grossing movie is Cinderella, 1950. In the 1950s, audiences continued to embrace Walt Disney's enchanting animated films, showcasing their enduring appeal. Cinderella, a fantasy musical adaptation of a timeless fairy tale, added another success to the studio's repertoire. With an initial theatrical triumph and subsequent re-releases, it amassed nearly $200 million globally. Cinderella stands out as one of Disney's most beloved classics, differing from Bambi by achieving success in its initial release and later benefiting from re-releases. This pattern contributes significantly to Walt Disney Productions' consistent dominance in box office figures, emphasizing that, regardless of re-releases, a ticket sale remains a ticket sale. And the 7th highest grossing movie is The Jungle Book, 1967. While The Jungle Book may not claim the pinnacle of critical acclaim for 1960s films, its financial success paints a different picture. The film became a poignant milestone for Walt Disney Productions, coinciding with the passing of its founder, Walt Disney, during production. Offering a loose and family-friendly adaptation of Rudyard Kipling's book, The Jungle Book performed well upon its initial release. However, its enduring success unfolded through subsequent re-releases, accumulating a global gross approaching $400 million. Notably, the film found unexpected popularity in Germany, becoming the country's all-time biggest film based on ticket sales. And here comes the sixth highest-grossing movie, Star Wars, 1977. In a departure from the Disney-dominated trend, the 1970s introduced a cinematic shift with the groundbreaking success of Star Wars. Owned by George Lucas at the time, it, along with iconic films like The Godfather, The Exorcist, and Jaws, reflected a thirst for fresh and vital storytelling. These box office hits from the 70s remain timeless classics. Star Wars, in particular, stands out as an iconic space opera, remixing cinematic traditions in an exhilarating manner. The film kick-started a monumental franchise, still thriving today under Disney's ownership. Remarkably, the original 1977 film grossed a staggering $775 million against a modest $11 million budget, cementing its place in cinematic history. And the fifth highest-grossing movie is E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial, 1982. Following Star Wars, the 1980s witnessed the triumph of another sci-fi blockbuster, E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial, ultimately becoming the highest-grossing film of the decade. This success was well-earned, as the film is considered one of the finest in the sci-fi genre, delivering an emotionally resonant, humorous, and relatable tale of a young boy's friendship with a lovable alien. E.T. shares similarities with Star Wars, as both underwent significant re-releases, contributing to their near $800 million earnings each. And the fourth highest-grossing movie is Titanic, 1997. The 1990s witnessed a surge in the scale and grandeur of films, reaching a pinnacle with Titanic becoming the first movie to surpass $1 billion at the box office. This epic, with an estimated total gross exceeding $2 billion, demonstrated unprecedented popularity. Notably, Jurassic Park also joined the billion-dollar club in 1993, propelled by re-releases after Titanic's milestone. While not James Cameron's final box office triumph, it undeniably claimed the title of the biggest earner of the decade. And the third highest grossing movie is Avatar 2009. James Cameron made a splash at the close of the 2000s with Avatar, his follow-up to Titanic, and it emerged as the highest grossing film of the entire decade. While the narrative may not have been groundbreaking, Avatar revolutionized cinema in terms of visual and special effects. Its financial success surpassed even Titanic, with an astounding box office total of just under $3 billion, breaking new records. The possibility of future re-releases raises the prospect of Avatar potentially surpassing the $3 billion milestone, a feat yet to be achieved by any other film. And the second highest grossing movie is Avengers Endgame, 2019. While the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, commenced in 2008 with Iron Man, it truly solidified its cinematic dominance in the 2010s. Marvel's superhero films consistently achieved substantial box office success and garnered positive critical reception throughout the decade. The Avengers series, especially crossover movies like Avengers Infinity War 2018 and Avengers Endgame 2019, emerged as highly anticipated and lucrative cinematic events. Over the course of a decade, the MCU successfully built up hype, and Endgame served as a grand and satisfying conclusion to the first three phases. Appropriately, Endgame became the most financially successful MCU movie, claiming the title of the highest earner of the entire 2010s. And the last highest grossing movie is Avatar: The Way of Water, 2022. The 2020s, still ongoing, faced an early setback due to the global pandemic, impacting box office earnings throughout 2020 and much of 2021. However, the release of films like Top Gun: Maverick and Avatar: The Way of Water in 2022 signaled a potential turnaround. While no movie in the 2020s has yet matched the colossal success of Avatar or Avengers Endgame, both mentioned films have achieved significant success. Avatar: The Way of Water, in particular, stands out as the highest earner of the 2020s so far. Although it didn't reach the heights of its 2009 predecessor, its impressive worldwide box office gross of $232 billion remains a noteworthy achievement. The prospect of another film surpassing the impact of the 2009 Avatar is uncertain. So, among these movies, which is your favourite one? Tell us in the comments section. And for more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe this channel.